Let's get it going. Let's get into it right now. It's episode 517 of the Soul Not For Sale podcast. We got Joe Rogan, Post Malone, and before I start the clip, I just want to pose a question to you. I want you to think about the world, think about your state, think about what's going on in the country right now, and then think about what would you do if you wanted to destabilize a nation. Now, I only ask that question not to have you think about doing that. Of course not. 100% not. But when you have that line of thinking, it kind of helps you think about who could be responsible for what's going on in the country today. And then another question I would pose to you is, do you think that there's an attack happening on America right now? And could that attack be from within? That's what I want you to think about. That's what the clip's about today. Joe Rogan and Post Malone are going to be touching on that. Before I bring you there, I have to bring you to the I Am Coach Colin store at IamCoachColin.com. Speaking of which, hello, this is Public Enemy #1. This is one of my favorite shirts. We also have the certified pureblood t-shirt for those of you that survived the pandemic unscathed. We also have the Great Resist shirt for those of you who do not want anything to do with the Great Reset and the coming, I don't want to say apocalypse, the coming nonsense that is coming along with Agenda 2030. And of course, the Soul Not For Sale shirt for those of you who just don't want to have to sell your souls like you see so many of these celebrities and politicians do on a daily basis. All of that's available on IamCoachColin.com. And if you want 10% off, all you got to do is put in the discount code area, I am Coach Colin. All one word, all capital letters, one L in the name Colin. That gets you 10% off. And if you've already chose to do that at our store, you are much appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now let's get into this clip.
But now I guess you can't, and I understand it completely, because what if the employee gets hurt, or what if someone gets hurt in a situation? But like, shoplifting is huge because now all these companies have policies to where it's like,
yeah,
if anything happens, you don't even say anything to the guy stealing.
You're not even allowed to stop them. You're supposed. People get fired for trying to stop them.
Don't even say like, "Hey, dude, don't fucking steal. I see what's in your fucking shirt." Don't even do that. Like,
wasn't there a story recently where a woman got beat up and then they fired her because she was trying to stop the shoplifters?
That, I mean, it's all a liability thing. It's a liability issue to where it's like that. The company doesn't want to be liable.
68-year-old woman has her job back after she was fired.
Let's go,
Public
Lowe's.
outrage works. After she was fired last month for attempting to stop shoplifters at a Lowe's store in Georgia. June 25th, 3 suspects loaded over $2,000 worth of merchandise into a shopping cart, left Lowe's store without paying, police said. And I think she tried to stop them. I think they beat her up, too. Which is even sadder.
68-year-old lady.
Yeah, these guys are such pieces of shit. They beat up an old lady, and then that lady got fired.
That's
crazy.
I'm happy she got her job back.
Me too, but she probably doesn't want it.
I don't want to work at Lowe's anymore.
Yeah, she should
I
probably
want to work
sue.
at corporate. God damn it.
It'd probably be better if they sued her, or if she sued them, right? She would have got a nice fat payday. That's ridiculous.
Suing is getting crazy too.
But in that situation, I'm kind of on her side.
Look, I know it's not even your shit. I know it's not your shit.
Right.
But you have, I don't know if you enjoy your job or your or what you do just a little bit. If you have friends at the store, if you have anything, it's like, you don't got to take that shit. Like, don't take that shit. I know it's not my shit.
Yeah.
I know it's, the big head shit.
Right.
But it's like you have an inclination to kind of like protect it. It's kind of like you do this every day. It's every day.
It used to be someone would always stop someone from shoplifting. There's always a security guard at a store to keep people from shoplifting. It was normal. Now people just run in large groups and they just snatch everything and smash glass and steal all the fucking watches, and everyone just has to stand
go
there.
out. You walk out.
You can't do that because it literally encourages crime because there's very little repercussions.
Yeah.
It's crazy that people are going with that. It's just, if you wanted to be a full-on conspiracy theorist, you would say this is someone trying to destabilize society, and that's the way to do it. The way to destabilize society is make things as lawless as possible. and then people will do whatever they need to do in order to bring back some semblance of normalcy. What do I have to do? What rights do I have to give up? What do I have to give up? I'll do it.
Well, you gotta submit to the one world currency, and then and then
For real.
Yeah.
That might look. It's if you wanted to look at a long-term engineering product, you could a project rather. You could, if you had enough resources and you were clever enough and you planned this out enough, you could engineer the downfall of a society, and you would do it by infecting the universities and entrenching them in a ridiculous, unsupportable ideology, and then have people go out in the world with that ideology and think this is a rational way to live life and to run the world. And then while you're doing that, you're also setting it up so that you have less people get arrested for things, more people get released from prison for things. There would be a bunch of different ways that you could destabilize society. But one of the best ones would be to encourage crime. If you wanted to somehow or another you could do it under the guise of making it more fair for all these people that get arrested, making it more fair for, nobody wants to be racist. You just say it's racial injustice and just let more violent criminals out onto the street. If you wanted to destabilize society, it's not saying that prison reform isn't hugely necessary. It is, for sure. They need to do a way better job of trying to rehabilitate people as well instead of just incarcerating them.
Fuck yeah.
But letting people out that are violent criminals seems like what I would do if I was trying to destabilize society.
I think an easier way. Here's what I would do.
What would you do if you were an evil dictator?
I would just shut everybody's shit down and say it was an attack from another country. If New York or LA collapses, the rest of the world follows suit. So we talk about a lot. Only like fucking 3% of your money is actually real. The rest is fucking a digital number. And we saw it with the banks collapsing, all these
and then they get bought up by bigger banks.
But the payout is $250,000. You're insured. Your money is insured for. You could have $1 billion in this bank. You're paid out $250,000.
And then where'd the rest of that money go?
Where the fuck did it go? All you need to say is if someone goes in or someone tries to order Postmates on their phone, just say, "Oh, your card's actually not working. Your card's been declined." Everyone's cards get declined at the same fucking time. People are gonna fucking cannibalize themselves within a week.
Yeah.
And just say it's not. We don't know who's doing it, but this was an outside attack.
Yeah.
All it takes is, because everything is so digital now. It takes just like you mentioned in Canada, where they're like, okay, people who donated to these guys are getting their bank accounts shut off. Imagine that happened to an entire major city.
Yeah. Well, have you ever looked into how vulnerable?
It would be anarchy everywhere.
Have you ever looked into how vulnerable the power grid is?
I know how vulnerable it is because in Utah, not even the power grid, but for internet. So, and a disgruntled employee took an axe to a box and shut down the whole fucking place's fucking, like my whole entire side. I live in Cottonwood Heights in Utah, and the whole shit went out because some guy was just mad and he just took a fucking axe to a box.
That's crazy.
And shut everybody's internet off. And it sucks.
Wow.
It sucks because I like internet. I like having internet. I gotta watch the fucking Joe Rogan Experience.
Wow. It's that vulnerable. And it's crazy that he knew how to do it and not get electrocuted. If you had a box and it's filled with wires and you got an axe, wouldn't you assume you're going to die?
I don't know how it goes.
I don't know how it goes either. I mean, I would be
All I know is I didn't have fucking Wi-Fi for fucking 4 days.
Do you think Wi-Fi is bad for you?
I don't know.
Man, they go down some rabbit holes. You think Wi-Fi is bad for you? Whoa, they're getting into some territory right there. But what does that sound like? I mean, Joe's right. I mean, that would be the best way to destabilize a place. It would be to allow crime to go unchecked, to defund the police maybe, tie the police's hands, make police feel like they are going to go to get persecuted or possibly even go to jail if they do their job to a certain extent, if they go overboard. and then blur the lines on what's overboard and then brand them as racist and have them get canceled and then their livelihoods taken away, and they're actually in a better position when they don't act, when they don't step in, when they don't show up when called. That actually puts them in a better position. So they decide to just do that. Have, like Joe said, have a bunch of students think that everything's racist and have everything be focused on race and gender and age, and everything's an ism and everything's a phobia. And if you do the wrong, if you look at someone a certain way, it's a microaggression. Have them focus, so hyper focused on one area, and then have a bunch of people, a generation of people, live their lives that way. You know, who brings the concern? I mean, I remember one time I was reviewing a video and Klaus Schwab was talking about how the government provides directional authority or directional power. He was talking about academia providing the power of truth because they determine what's true and what's not through studies. Then I think he talked about organizations like, you know, like any social justice organization. They, like BLM, like they decide where society should have their concerns placed, you know? And then he talked about business having the power to have innovation. So they innovate, you know, or as Larry Fink put it, they force behavior. You know, you put all those things together, you know, within a place, within a society, and, you know, things get unstable. I shouldn't even say things get unstable. They can get unstable. They have the power to do that. So again, the question I would pose to you is, do you think there's an attack within happening? And who is responsible? It's really, really hard to say, because I want to say yes, but also, you know, there are countries that look at the West and shake their fist and think it's a horrible place and think that, you know, their day of reckoning needs to come. Not that it should come naturally, that it needs to come, like soon. So it's very hard to say. And then I guess you could be in the place where you could say both. Both are happening. But through the past 5 years, it just really seems like a lot of things that have been put in place, you would think, why is that being done? You know? So many businesses got shut down. So many people lost their livelihoods. So many people were forced to depend on the state or the government. Just so many people. And then we don't even need to get into a conversation about like parents feeling like they're losing control of even telling their kids right from wrong. So I don't know. It's very interesting to think about. And I'm glad that Joe brought it up, because I've been thinking about this for a long time. I don't know if you have. Let me know in the comments if you have. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. You know, and think about that. Think about that when you're looking at everything going on. Who's responsible for most of the destabilization and demoralization that's been happening in the nation? I'm sure you have some answers. I have some answers in my head as well, but that's for another episode. Episode 517 of the Soul Not For Sale podcast. Is it 517? 517. And other than that, I'm out. Think about it.